you love, continue cheer. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All I want is Christmas Day. Is love to start and love to stay. All I want is Christmas Day. Is love to start and love to stay. Henry on the sax. All I want is Christmas Day. Is love to start and love to stay. All I want is Christmas Day. Is love to start and love to stay. All I want, all I want is love. All I want, all I want is love.
Peace and welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-ONE, and as you can see, I am back at the base. I'm back home again, and what a wonderful tour that was. Wow. And of course, I have a couple of announcements, some things to say before we actually start this lesson on Christmas Day. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Obviously, this is a pre-recording as well. As I said while we were on tour as well, we did a few of these up to the minute pre-recordings because I was still traveling and so on. But I'm back now. That's why I recorded this right here the second I actually got back. I came in right on the cusp, on the solstice. The 22nd came right in on the solstice, and you guys know with the Temple of Hip Hop, those who have studied with us, that we try to always make our moves according to the universe, if we can. The new moons, eclipses, solstices, and so on. So I just happened, the Queen Mary happened to dock in Brooklyn on the 22nd, and I got a chance to get in. 8 days at sea. It was wonderful. And the seas were not that rough either. Maybe one day it got a little rocky, but after the end of that, it was just really sailing, coming straight in. Of course, many of you, if you've seen the weather reports, you know we came into a storm, like a cold front kind of thing. It could drop down to like 2 degrees, 3 degrees. 14 degrees in New York. Actually, it was like 14 degrees in Atlanta. That was crazy. But just to show you how the earth is changing, weather is changing, and we better change with it, consciousness included. So that was interesting. Shout out to everybody who enjoyed the tour with us. What an enlightening experience that was. I wrote down some names as well. Just let me do the quick shout out real quick. Big up to Joseph Sanchez, Professor Sanchez, for joining us on the tour as well. Shout out to you, Sanchez. Your person, your existence was well received out there, and thanks for taking the time to come out there as well. As well with Moon Magic. Thank you as well for coming out as well. We got to get more organized. You know how I go. But I thank you for sliding through on that. Well, I got a chance to see you do your thing as well. And we got that on film as well. That was amazing. obviously, just before you broke out as well, and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye as well, but I was running. You know how it is. The tour was crazy as it was, and everyone else on this list can attest to that. But thank you too, Well, for coming out and supporting the Temple of Hip Hop and being part of that as well. The performance, everything was actually pretty dope, and I hope you did recover to your 101%. Lifted, big up to you as well. Hope you made it home safe as well. Obviously you did. But shout out to you as well. Your performance on stage was excellent, and I don't have to tell you that. People saw it for themselves, and that was the whole experience. It's one thing for me to say, yeah, you dope, or for me to say, but if you in front of 600 people and they say you dope, that was, as with Whale as well, it's not about my opinion at that point or the teacher grading you at that point. It was live right there, and the people gave it to you right there. That was dope. Of course, shout out to SUN-ONE. Big up to Pascal, who did they thing. SUN-ONE DJ'd the whole tour. Great job on that. Shout out to Pascal, who videographed, basically shot and directed a series of things, actually, really the whole tour. I say a series of things because out of that footage comes about 4 or 5 different documentaries. It was crazy. But shout out to Pascal on that. Big up to SUN-ONE on that. Every night, even when he was sick, he came through, and it was absolutely dope. We had to push ourselves, all of us. We had to push ourselves, all of us. And that's what I was looking at. This was an experience. This was an experience. And you can't teach this in a classroom. You can't read this really in a book. You got to be out there on the road itself and get the experience on you. This is what it's going to take to run temples of your own, or the Central Temple when we finally open one. This is what it's going to take to run Hip Hopia, our city. This is what it's going to take to do other tours and festivals, which is a huge part. It's not the only part, but it's a huge part of how we eat and how we survive. And that's also what we wanted to see, how we eat and also how we survive. Shout out to Raharu as well. Raharu came through. Thank you for the sound engineering on that as well. And I hope we rose to a higher level of understanding as well about the temple contributing to itself. But big up, because also, Raharu, I want to thank you also for shooting London. When we did London, the Club Coco's is what I'm thinking about. And then when the lighting engineer got wow, you actually captured that. That was actually dope, and we used some of that footage actually on 1 or 2 of the temple calls. I want to chop that up, obviously, and get that full thing out. It was a wonderful show, great show. But again, this is an example of the temple coming out to help itself. Shout out to Raharu, or Raharu. K-Doc, Germany. Shout out to you as well, who came from Germany, met us in England, and then, of course, we went to you in Germany, and you were there to help out as well. Thank you for your assistance as well. We will talk. I did get your information, your letter, your poetry, all of that. I will be responding on that later on. I just got in just now. It was crazy. I didn't even unpack all the bags with paperwork in it and so on. But we will get to that. And yes, we need to begin to start our Temple of Hip Hop in the German area, in Germany, in that way. I got much more people to shout out, obviously, but shout out to Joey True. Your performance was dope. I'm just going to run through real quick. King, you know what it is. You rose as well, not only in terms of hospitality and the teacher's assistant, but you're also learning a little road management as well. Joey True, you jumped on that too at the last end of the tour, and both of you worked great as a tag team getting the teacher and others in and out of the building. That was dope. One thing I'll never forget in terms of Joey True. One thing I won't forget is I'm trying to remember the drink. My voice was hoarse. It was freezing. We ran directly into another. The toilet wasn't clean, so you had to go find a clean toilet. But in finding a clean toilet in a bar, what's this? Come on. Yes, indeed. We're trying to get that clean toilet in the bar. We ran up on the bar itself and got some weird drink. I forgot what it was. Crap. It escapes me. But I swallowed it, and it worked. And you know what I'm talking about. And we tried to get it again. We have to find it somewhere. But it was like a whiskey, and it cleared everything. And I got on stage and just sparked on. It was crazy. And you remember the incident. So I just won't forget that as part of our experience, Joey True, on that. And then, of course, King rolling with me the whole time. You rose as well. Obviously, Jay Best on merchandise, time is hailing you up, of course, because obviously your salesmanship skills at the merch table was impressive. I didn't get to see the salesmanship skills because obviously I was being KRS-ONE in a whole different dimension. But one time I did roll up on you and some guy that you was ministering to, and he was crying tears out his eyes. You was saying something to him, and then when I showed up, he just burst into more tears. These were memorable moments where people really felt the hip-hop in them. They really came, and that's something we're going to talk about in this this lesson here, about experiences and how you take experiences, not judging the experience, not judging one another in the experience, but taking the experience and growing yourself with the experience. That's what makes you an attuned hip-hopper. Those who finish the complete tour will probably receive attuned hip-hopper certificates. And I say probably because, again, you got to live up to these titles. You got to live up to them. We already gave out the true hip-hopper title as well, and most of us are living up to that. Most of us are living up to that. And not saying those who went on the tour are living up to it in that sense. No, I'm saying from wherever you are, if you were part of that ceremony, most of us who are part of that ceremony are living up to that true hip-hopper status. Because you got that status before we finished the reading of the book. We're supposed to finish the reading of our gospel, then we get the true hip-hopper status. But because you came to Hip Hop Appreciation Week last year, you got the status put on you already and was asked to live up to it. And I've seen and heard and have gotten emails as well proving that many of you are living up to it. And it's a proud feeling. It's a proud feeling, and that's what I felt when I was with the Temple of Hip Hop on tour. Yes, there were mistakes made. You all know you all made mistakes. Everybody. So there's no judgment of one to the other, this one to that one, and so on. No, we all made mistakes, and we all had victories too. We all saw what it was and rose the next day on a victorious mission. This is not a corporation. This is a temple. This is where you mature. And if you can't come to a place and mature yourself, or even be vulnerable enough to show your honesty, say, man, matter of fact, don't say it. You just show that this is my error. This is what it is right here. And to have your brothers and sisters take a look at that, or see that you were supposed to do this, but you did that, and we all know it. So there it is. But then you rose the next day and did this. This is the learning process. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, how you navigate that. And that's why it was so important that those who went on the tour and spent their own money to be on the tour. Those that went on the tour got an experience. They got to taste a little bit of the life of a supreme hip hopper, meaning, and not just talking about myself, but you got to see others that were out there opening acts, how other people were doing their hip hop, friends were made, contacts were made, all of this stuff. And I'm just breezing over because those who were there know, you know what it is. I'm just breezing over because I'm in now this public setting. The tour is over. We did our tour. Phenomenal tour. We got our message across as well. I went over some of this last time as well. We got our message across. We met with everybody we were supposed to meet with. Nothing was wasted. No time wasted. No money wasted. No mind wasted. No energy wasted. So I thank everyone who came to the Temple of Hip Hop, came out to the Temple of Hip Hop. Of course, Time and GSIMONE, who jumped on stage with glory, glory, and had the whole place screaming. It was a phenomenal tour. We all came out of our shells. We all saw a piece of ourselves that was the strength of us, and that part that we need to strengthen. And that's what it is. Even myself, I saw myself. There were parts of the show, and I broke bread with some of you, saying that, no, I can do a better show than this. I can be better than this. Of course, the shows were crazy. Every night, we ripped them. But that's for them to see. We know we're striving for a level of excellence. And when we say, oh, when this song happens, this is supposed to happen and that, and then you get out there and I miss a lyric, or the beat don't drop or something like that, we know we have to rise to higher levels. Others may not know that. They're just in the frenzy of what's going on. But we know that we are rising to higher levels of perfection. And let me just say that too on this level. No, we're not perfectionists. We're not coming with this ego thing about I got to be perfect. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about true perfection, which really is completion. This is what perfection, mastery, this is what these words are about. Perfection and mastery is about completion. It's not about some exalted state. It's about completion, being whole, being complete, not being fragmented or immature, undeveloped. The more you march toward your development, the more you are a master at who you are and what you are doing. So we got another tour coming up. And this tour is throughout California. More information coming on that later on. The immutable GSIMONE was doing her job, doing her work while we were in Europe. Some of you may have heard about this as well, that we usually, stair-step our tours. So, when we was doing our sort of end summer tours, some of you might remember some of the shows we did on the East Coast. We was in Atlanta, we was in Baltimore, all these different places that we were in, like toward the end of August, going into September. GSIMONE was planning Europe while we were doing that. And then we went and did Europe. Now, while we were in Europe, in the midst of everything else going on, so GSIMONE started planning California while we're in Europe. So we're getting ready now. We're planning a California run. And reason being, and remember why I'm doing this as well, is because this is the time before you go out to get big money dates, which usually come toward the summertime. You use the winter time and use these off seasons to reintroduce yourself to promoters, to the streets, to younger audiences as well. You don't get to introduce yourself to younger audiences on the phone. That doesn't work. And you would think a younger audience wants to see you on the phone. They don't. In Europe, especially when we were there, we noticed we had to tailor make our show because we thought it was going to be 40-year-olds and up. We get there and everybody's there. Okay, 40-year-olds and 13-year-olds. We saw young kids in the front, and I'm like, listen to my 9. I'm like, wait, maybe we need to tailor make this a little bit. But this is what it was, and so it was so you use this time to reintroduce yourself to a new audience. And just after COVID, this is the perfect time to be doing this. And remember these lessons. This is your work. This is not a job where you're just going to make money or something else. This is not what this is. Big up to the record companies that used to do this back in the days. Excuse me, it was called artist development. Artist development, where it wasn't about a big tour, but it was about a big tour because you knew that if you went on these little dates, strategic dates, LA, San Diego, Sacramento, San Francisco, hit Oakland, strategic dates, California got a lot of places, and also like Arizona, New Mexico, like that. You can hit those dates as well, but you got to be strategic about it because what's happening is right after COVID, that's why I say I went overseas to talk to everybody, do our shows, this, that, and the other. We crushed them, got all types of numbers. People want us to come back, and we're going to go back. But now California needs the same thing. I haven't been back in Cali like 4 years. Before that, we had to leave because the place started burning down. California just... we forget now, but every year they go through this forest fire thing. But last time it got wild, like for real. It was like down. The skies were orange, like over Hollywood. So it's like, no, this flame is getting a little too close right now. Mad people broke out, and then of course the economy tanked. Everything hit California at one time, and so on. So. I haven't been there in like 4 years. Shows have been canceled. Big shows. We were supposed to do a Rakim, KRS, Big Daddy Kane show. I think another one had Slick Rick, the same kind of bill. Couldn't get no money up there. Ticket sales low. And this was like around just after COVID. So you got to get on the ground. You can't play superstar. You got to get on the ground. And that's what I do because we're independent. So, if you had big corporations behind you, maybe you don't have to do this. If you got a record company behind you, maybe you don't have to do this. But back in the days when we, with the record companies and real venues out here, we used to throw our own parties. The record company used to subsidize just for us to be in certain areas to show what you got. And once you show what you got, people always, do their thing. This is what the Time was talking about with Jay Best. Her and Jay Best got together. It was really her, Jay Best, and Joey True that were getting together. Joey True did the first half. Jay Best did the second half. Joey True started working with me. We started to find our place. But that salesmanship, selling that product right there to people you don't know, another skill. This is not a skill for the mic. This is not an entertainment skill. It's a different kind of skill now. You're getting $20 out of somebody's pocket. You giving them a bundle for $150 right there. You taking credit cards, cash. You breaking down different currencies. That's what went on out there. So shout out to you, Jay Best, for holding yourself down with Time Journey. Y'all did your thing. But anyway, I say this to say, I'm giving you just a little bit of the rundown of the logic of the tour and why we direct ourselves in these ways. If you don't do this for yourself, nobody else is going to. So realize what it means to be independent. If you don't think for yourself, nobody else is going to think for you. If you don't move yourself, nobody's going to move you. So you have to be your own mover. You have to have a will to survive. You have to have a will to thrive and be that which you say you are. So, for me, my next stop is California. I haven't been there in a minute, and California's struggling as well with the economy. People can't afford $50 tickets, $40 ticket, and park the car and get something to eat, something to drink. It becomes a little too much. But maybe a $20 ticket, even a $15 ticket, because you're seeing one or two acts, that may be something we can do. And as a matter of fact, that is something we're doing. So we're going to go into California. I'm hoping to book about 10 dates in the California area to get the word out. That we're in town, hip hop is popping, and this is what it is. When I come through as well, 2 or 3 other openers also get to show their stuff. So you got to keep that in mind too, the community aspect of it as well. And I'm big on that. And we saw that on the tour as well. I didn't approve all the acts that got on stage, but I do let the promoters choose their openers and so on. You see, we didn't have a problem going on stage if we wanted to. A lot of nights they didn't even have openers, and we just went on stage and blew the place out on our own. But you'll see that when an act like KRS-ONE lands in a city, 2 or 3 other openers also get to shine that night. And you want to be cognizant of that as well. Don't just do the big arenas or the big shows because you're getting the big money. Land somewhere small, 300 seaters, 500 seaters, 600 seaters. You're not going to do it often because there is no money in that, really. There is no money in that. What's in that is longevity, respect, the sharpening of your skills, and the lifting up of your community. That's what's in that. And some of us that were on this European tour, you saw the strategic dates. We did our big dates. When we was in London, we shut London down. We was in Bristol, we shut Bristol down. Manchester couldn't take it. We did 2 shows in Manchester. They couldn't take it, okay? Liverpool as well. But we also went over to Hull. We also went over to Brighton. And, you know, these little little areas, but these are strategic. They're strategic. They're still great hip-hop spots to be at. So we're going to treat California the same way. Treat California the same way. More information will come up later on. This is in March, too, by the way. Mid-March going into April. And end of March, you know, mid-end of March, March 15th, going into maybe April 15th, maybe. Like 4 weeks on the West Coast. So those that are interested in that, we'll get our organization together, probably the same way we did it before. There'll be a little form to fill out so we can see what you're about, what you're offering the tour, this kind of thing, how you'd like to be involved, what you want to learn, what you want to know. But it's about the experience. It's about the experience, being on a live tour and having responsibilities for real. For the tour. And then, of course, expressing your talent before a real crowd. And not just your MCing talents, but all of your talents, your teaching talent, your MCing talent, your service talent, your service talent, your emotions. Few of us had to control our emotions. The emotions getting crazy. Had to control our emotions. All of that. And we're going to talk about this as well. So let me see if I got anything else before we keep going. Obviously, the song that played just before I came on was called Holiday Wish by GSIMONE. That was hard as well. We'll probably play it at the end of this as well. And it's streaming on all platforms. So if you want to just run that, back and forth, you can always just look up GSIMONE, Holiday Wish. That is streaming on all platforms right now. And as you know, we are taking a break from our normal read of the Gospel of Hip Hop, which is bringing us to the stages: rap fan, hip hopper, true hip hopper, attuned hip hopper, so on. Bring us through our stages. I said when I got home I wanted to do a more hardcore read on that, and that's not today either, because I'm still, I just got in just now, and I got to pull out some books and some stuff to really get into that. Plus, also, it's Christmas right now, so we're going to focus on the theme of Christmas within our lesson as well. I'm going to read you actually the story of Jesus' birth, of Yeshua's birth. the birth of the Christ in you, actually. But we're going to read you a little bit of that as well. So we're taking a break from our normal read. We'll get back to that. Probably this week coming up, we'll get back on our hardcore read this week, actually, probably coming up, if it doesn't fall on yet another awkward day in that sense. Shout out to James Brown. Shout out to James Brown, who passed away on this day. Shout out to James Brown. And big up to him, because obviously hip-hop would be nowhere without that man. Make sure you watch a video by James Brown or play his music or something on Christmas Day as well. While we were over in England, there was a lot of unrest in the workers' movement. Obviously, myself, working with HHA, Hip Hop Alliance, I had to put my head right into, well, what's going on out here with England and workers' salaries and pay. Everything has gone up in the world, everything. I can just say everything, food, travel, hotels, everything has gotten more expensive in the world, and people's salaries are not going up. Yet CEO salaries and company benefits, company profits are going up. It's one thing if CEO benefits were not going up, company profits were stagnating, and so you could argue, look, nobody's making any money anywhere. That's not what's happening. Companies are making profit over profit, record-breaking profits. Major companies are making record-breaking profits and not sharing it with the workers. Same thing with the CEOs. They're getting bonuses after bonuses, and somehow the workers who are making the company tick are getting nothing. It's that same old that greedy, oppressive mentality that people have to fight against, or you're going to be enslaved, because that's the mentality, really, to have you work for nothing, really, because that's the mentality of capitalism. Now, I'm not going to sit here and knock capitalism. What I'll just say is shout out to the rail workers who are striking in England right now, the teachers, both the college teachers and some of the other teachers are striking as well. Nurses, big deal in England right now, that the nurses are striking right now. And this is all during the holiday season, okay? Ambulances are striking. Royal Mail workers delivering the mail, striking. Bus drivers, the double-decker buses and stuff, striking. Border Force, the Border Force staff of England, striking. Driver's examiners, they have a driver examiner out there, striking. Okay, or like at least over 5 major institutions are striking in England right now over this holiday season. I found that remarkable while we were over there. I gathered much notes. It's not something to talk about here right now, but I bring it to your ear. Do your own research as well. Find out what the argument is. Find out what workers are fighting for. Find out where the negotiations are going down. It's important, because hip-hop is going to be faced with the same situations. Meeting people who want to slave you. They want your talent. They want to exploit you and give you nothing for it. That's why unions have to exist, and we have to support unions. So I got this award. Do you see it? You see the award? See it? Okay, you got it. See it? Yeah. Okay. That's me. Okay, I got my award here. This is a YouTube award here, if you can see it, awarded to KRS-ONE for, well, it says, for passing 100,000 subscribers. So I thought that was kind of cute. Big up to YouTube for that. And shout out to everybody who actually made that possible, like, again, Time Journey, Parker, GSIMONE, obviously SUN-ONE, and Pascal, you guys. I share this award with all of you, actually. Shout out to Tim Terra as well. Basically, shout out to everybody who helped to make this possible. These are the directors, people who shot videos, and worked with the tech with that as well to help us to reach over 100,000 views. You know, I'm totally not following this kind of thing right here, but it is impressive. Not so much the award, but that 100,000 people would want to sit here and watch our videos or some of these YouTubes, some of these lectures, and so on. That does warm the heart. That does deserve a thank you. That does deserve respect. So thank you, respect, and I am humbled by that acknowledgement at this particular time. So now, and of course on the KRS-ONE YouTube channel, you can check out my old videos. We got new stuff coming for the new year, obviously. We're going to be blazing you the whole year. So be prepared for that as well. We got stuff working right now. I forgot to say, I forgot to shout Lifted in terms of his work with the mayor. I did it last week, but it's just something that came to my mind about Lifted and meeting up with a gentleman. Of course, these names escape me. We wind up doing a temple lecture from this person's facility, and I guess with that, in that connection, we got to the Liverpool mayor, who actually got sick the day we were supposed to meet. So I thought I would read a little bit. Of Matthew 19. Matthew chapter 1. Let me get my notes together. Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. If I'm right, let me just get this. Yeah, Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. If you have a Bible, you can turn to it. Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. It starts the birth of Jesus. I figure this will be a great way to start our lesson on Christmas Day. And, sparing you the long history of Christmas, or reminding you that obviously Jesus was not born on December 25th. That a lot of this has to do with harvest and season, and again the solstice and the movements of planets and stars. We went over that. We've been going over that over several years when Christmas time comes around. Sometimes we get more elaborate with it than other years, but this year we figure we just focus on the traditional American style Christmas. And the reason we're saying that is because in times like this, like for instance, I noticed a sort of more of a social respect actually for Halloween and for Thanksgiving than actually for Christmas. And keep in mind that Christmas, okay, it's a Christian holiday. And those that are not Christian or even believe in God at all tend to shy away from this. And in professional life, they tend to bring that belief into professional life as well. You see it subtly. It's not overt. Sometimes it is, but you see it subtly, the taking away of God out of society and out of community. And in doing that, Christmas becomes under assault as well, because everybody's not following Jesus Christ. But I invite you during this time or during this day to put aside the surface, the frivolous part of the holiday, and consider what the Christ is, what the Christ is, what the Mass or the celebration of the Christ is, the celebration of the birth of your higher self. You can call it the Magi, You could call it the Buddha. You could call it higher consciousness. But in every culture, we understand that the masses of people are not living their highest potential. Now, most are trying to get there, but they're not there. And then there are some of us that are there. And sometimes we don't even know it. We're doing a great work and we're just doing it out of the kindness of our heart and don't know that you're being the Christ. Some of us are enduring great sacrifices right now and don't know that you're being the Christ. Don't matter what your religion is, don't matter what your language is, don't matter what your culture is. You call this thing, this expression of higher consciousness, higher mind, health, love, awareness, and wealth, peace and prosperity, unity, joy, these things, mercy, forgiveness, wisdom, these things, charity, the people who can exist in that being. This is the Christ. This is the Christos. This is the Word of God made flesh. The words we talking about love and peace and so on, who's acting it out? Who's bringing heaven to earth? Who's making it real? This is the Christ, not a lofty figure in the sky, not somebody floating around. No, somebody on the bus next to you. Somebody willing to support life and love. Somebody who's not going to rob you when you turn your back, stab you in the back, or laugh with others when others are laughing at you. A real person. This is what we strive to be. Most people strive to be the person they know they're supposed to be, but they can't get there. Why can't they get there? Because for some of us, it's not even our time to get there. Some of us think we striving for something and can't get there because it's about us. I've learned that sometimes you striving for something, it ain't even your time to get it. You deserve it. That's why you're striving for it. But you got to live 5 more years, 10 more years. You got to go through a few more doors, and then you understand why you got that or why you become this. These are the roads of the Christ. These are the roads that the Christ takes. And when you read books like the Bible, you could take them literally if that's your faith. But the Bible is known by many theologians, known to be a book of symbols and interpretation and inquiry. Every word can be linked to some other knowledge that you wasn't even thinking about. So when we crack the Bible, we open the Bible with reverence. We open the Bible with respect. It is another holy book. And those that have the truth within them can see the truth in anything. Those with lies in them see lies in everything. Those with suspicion in them suspect everything. All of this blocks your eye, you can't see. Because we're only seeing our mind. You may think you're reading something and say, this is not true. If your mind sees it like that, then so be it. Somebody else will pick up the same book and create billion-dollar churches, which is a contradiction in and of itself, but that's what they created with it. Others pick up the same book, find themselves fasting in a prison, hunger fast for some injustice that needs to be dealt with seriously, willing to put their life on the line. Why? Because I'm a Christian. I read the book. You see, all holy books have a message to teach us, but the message has to first be within you. Then what are you learning? Most sages tell you that most holy books don't teach you anything. They remind you. They remind you. And that's the teaching. So when you pick up any holy book, what are you being reminded of? The zenith lesson is that you are God. Wake up. But before we get there, let's talk about Jesus. Okay? Let's just talk about the birth of the Christ. That's what Christmas is all about. The birth of the Christ in you. The birth of the godliness, the divinity within yourself. And when you are birthed, when your Christ is born, you know, it's an astronomical event. Magi, kings, come and bestow gifts. And there's so much allegory and symbolism with that, the birth of the Christ and then the gifts. You know, like there's so much with that. Let's just get right to the read. Let's get right to the read, because I'm going to read a little bit of this and then I'm going to go over to the gospel and read a little bit about the path of the Christ. So I'm at right. First of all, I'm reading from the original African Heritage Study Bible. That's what I'm reading from, the original African Heritage Study Bible. Excellent book also for research, theological research. You know, most of the Bibles I got have commentaries and research pieces to them, so on. So I just happen to be reading this one right now as well. The birth of Jesus. So I'm here at Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. When as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man, and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now all this was done that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. Then Joseph, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of the Lord had bidden him, and took unto him his wife, and knew her not until she brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king heard of these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. You know, where is the Christ? And they said unto him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I have called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coast thereof from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken of Jeremy the prophet, saying, In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeareth in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding, being warned of God in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. Now that is the birth of Jesus. A lot in there. A lot in there. A few things to look at. We're not going to go through that a lot. But there's a few things to really point out here before we go forward. One of which is, notice the African all through this. Okay? First of all, Jesus is born in Africa. And also keep in mind that, before the Suez Canal and before the maps got rewritten and all of this, the whole area that we're talking about here is Africa, and is teeming with black people. Not just black people like me and others, but dark-skinned people of all kinds. Black Africans, Arabs, Persians, even Asians. It's hot out there. People are dark-skinned out there. But specifically, Libya, Egypt, Kush, that's black like me. Okay? Straight up and down. We all know it. Now, escaping into that area, you don't escape into some place that's going to be hostile to you. You escape into a place that's welcoming, that you feel you could be safe at. And as the story goes, they were safe. They escaped into Egypt. Nobody says how they worked, how they ate, what they did, how did Jesus learn, what was going on while they was in Egypt. And they stayed there until the threat had passed. Herod had died, and then these dreams are coming. These dreams are coming. Now, keep in mind also, let me put a disclaimer here. Words like dreams, and so that it can be fulfilled by the prophet, keep in mind that the text that we are reading, the King James Version of the Bible that we are reading, this kind of text, the oldest text, the closest they can even get to anything written about this is Greek, okay? Greek and Greco-Roman text. That's what they have. They don't have the Aramaic writing of the people. Jesus spoke Aramaic, and the people who would follow him were speaking Aramaic as well. They don't have the Aramaic writing to match the Aramaic language in which they're speaking. They're void of the culture of Jesus, don't understand why they're saying certain things, what certain things mean, so on. So you've got to put your soul to this book in order to understand further what's being implied here. Now, you know the story of Mary and Joseph, or you should know the story of Mary and Joseph in the sense that Mary was supposedly have been impregnated by a spirit, that she was a virgin that had no intercourse with a man to become pregnant. So, but then she was found pregnant, and an angel came to Joseph in his mind and said, "This is a virgin birth. She's a virgin." The angel said, "What's in her is of the Holy Spirit. Don't be ashamed," because back then, if you take a wife that was already pregnant with a kid, that was a shameful act because she somehow did not, got pregnant without a husband or without a man willing to take care of her. So, that unwedded, being pregnant out of wedlock, I guess, would be a more modern term for it, was frowned upon back then. The story opens up with this dilemma that Joseph is going through. Should I let her stay? Should I let her go? How did he even get in touch with her to begin with is a mystery. But somehow this is where we start the story. A little bit to unpack there as well. Notice also, not only is it African-based, but you deal with astronomy all through the story. The wise men are seeing a star. The star is leading them to where the Christ is. These dreams as well, and so on. A lot of astronomy going on in Jesus' story. Something else to pick up on and think about. One other thing also to look at is I looked up this word smite and look up the word slew. And they have interchangeable meanings. Sometimes the Bible says that Herod smite the children. Sometimes they say it slew the children. Both have the implications of murder, slew and smite. But they also have the implications of just being hit. And there's no evidence in other archaeological records that Herod during the time killed all of these kids. That would have been in record. That would have been in a public record, especially Roman records. They would have kept a record of that. There's no record of that. So you have to look at this and try to imagine how the translation is being written or said, or what we're trying to understand when we say Herod hit the kids, killed the kids. What did he do to the kids? It didn't have to be that he killed the kids. Now, we don't know. The tradition is that he killed all these kids, looking to snuff out the Christ child. But when I look at the etymology of the word slew and the word smite, which is interchangeable within certain Bible texts, smite especially means to hit, not really to kill. Whatever. So the one thing I noticed, and the other part of the last thing is the gifts. This part about when the priests, when the Magi, when they saw the Christ child, they worshipped him. Worship is a word, doesn't mean praying and saying, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. The word worship means to take care of something. It means to care for, to cultivate something. That's what the original word worship actually means. Actually, we go over that in the Gospel of Hip Hop toward the front within, I think, Real Hip Hop, the Real Hip Hop section. We talk about the word worship, actually, the actual word worship, meaning to cultivate. When you worship God, you are cultivating God, not just praise and prayer, but you are actually cultivating God within yourself. To worship God is to cultivate God, to take care of God, to help, like you take care of a child. That's how you worship something. It's when you take care of it. So when they say they fell down and took care of him, in that sense, and their gifts came out. Like imagine you would think, you know, you would think that they said, you know, that they would that the Magi was giving, that they were giving Jesus gifts, but if you read it from an alternative point of view, I'm trying to find the here it is. It's Matthew 2 verse 11. First of all, here's 10. It says, "When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy." Not when they saw Jesus. It says when they saw the star, they was in great joy. The star came and stood over where the child was. Okay, and this is all about this star. The star is the star of the story. Let me read you 9 real quick. This is Matthew 2 verse 9. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them. That star is not a star in the sky, or they're equating whatever this star is to the sky or to astronomy. Because look at it, it went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. In our minds, we're thinking a star is moving in the sky and somehow standing over this child, and it moved until it. This is fantasy, but there's something is trying to be said here. Something's trying to be said. Here's 10. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. Now, it reads as if it said they saw him and opened up gifts. And the gifts were gold, frankincense, myrrh. But gold, frankincense, and myrrh are symbols. In the Bible, frankincense and myrrh mean something. They mean things. I wish I had my metaphysical Bible dictionary with me right now, where I could look up frankincense and myrrh. It used to be on the tip of my tongue. I'm reading a different story right now. But gold is a high-level spiritual symbol, gold is. And frankincense and myrrh, it's like saying peace, prosperity, and high intelligence. Like, that's what these symbols mean. I bring that to you for your deeper reading into the birth of the Christ. That when the Christ is born, gifts, your inner gifts, come out to serve you, to worship and cultivate you. There is a star, a light in heaven that comes over you. And see, these magi, they say they were exceedingly light. When they saw the star, they got hype. Then they went to the kid and worshiped the kid. Like, to take care of a kid with gifts It's just like charity. Like imagine you saw the star and it all rang true in the heavens, and or whatever this star was made you realize yourself. And when you realized yourself, you went into this house, you saw a kid, and he said, let me give you something to eat, let me give you something to eat, because you realized yourself. And that's how I look at the story. It talk about how the Magi realized themselves and started giving Jesus gifts, or started exposing the gifts within themselves. And if I pull out the hexapla, I'm quite sure this whole thing will change. Because the word him, I got to see if they're spelling it with the H-I-M or the H-Y-M. But the point is that on this day, traditionally, this is when the Christ is supposed to be born in you. Where you are supposed to realize the gifts within yourself and give them to others as a form of worship. Who do you fall down and worship after you've realized the Christ in yourself? This is a different thing where others would say, well, you've realized the Christ, so others have to fall down and worship you. Nah, that ain't even what Jesus talked about in the Bible. At the end of his life, you see Jesus tying his disciples' shoes. And they're saying, Lord, I should be tying your shoes. He said, no, you will know my true disciples by this act right here. The highest of us are the lowest of us. Are you willing to tie the shoes of your students? This is the achievement of the Christ, or at least the attitude. And so think about that. When you've achieved a certain level of awareness, whose shoes do you tie? That you are above all. You know you are. They know you are. Yet you still manage to humble yourself before those that are not on your level either. These are the acts of the Christ. To know you great, but you ain't got to flaunt it. We all know what it is, so let me just tie your shoe. I've realized myself so much to the point where I realize there's only one thing for me to do: serve others. There's only one thing left to do. I got everything: health, love, awareness, and wealth, peace, prosperity. Come on, I got it all. What's there left to do? I gotta give this to somebody. I gotta help. I gotta make the world a better place. I got the skills to make the world a better place. I realized myself. You realize yourself, you the one giving the gifts when you realize yourself. So that's our Christmas look right there. That's the Christmas look right there. The Christmas look right there. We're not really getting into the gospel of hip hop at our normal read. I want to invite you to go over to page 257 in the Gospel of Hip Hop, and we're going to start at paragraph 22. I want to read this as a concluding point for all of us that were on tour. And this, like I said, is about the path itself, about falling, getting up, about failing and realizing success, about victory, about overcoming your fears and your doubts. Like I said, this is not a corporation. This is a temple. This is where you come to go from childhood to manhood or womanhood, really adulthood, or from childhood to adulthood, and from adulthood to divinity. This is what we're striving for. Like I said, we're not perfectionists. We claim we have no monopoly on perfection. God is perfect. But if you can't reach for perfection, reach for excellence, reach to be the best, to complete, to be whole. You'll never be superior in anything. Others will be superior to you. Others who understand what excellence is all about, others who understand what perfection is all about, will always be above you. Why? Because you have not learned yet to roll, fall, and roll, and get back up. Others have fallen way lower than you and have gotten up. And because you don't know of their fall, they look like they never fell. This is what we're going to learn right now. Look, I'm going to start with 22. This is about business, okay? And I mean, this piece here is about business, but you're going to see it talks about failure and success. This is a business piece we're reading from. In fact, this is the wealth section of the H law that I'm reading from right now. This is the wealth section of the H law that I'm actually reading right now. And it says, through the performance of forgiveness, this is even in business, through the performance of forgiveness, discontinue the disappointing and hurtful experiences others have displayed toward you. Be spiritually responsible. Do not pass on the bad habits that you may have learned growing up. Treat all business dealings as a game that, whether you win or lose, you can always return to the next day. Don't take it personal. Now, I start here with this because this is also with the Temple of Hip Hop as well. No matter what experience you have had on this particular tour, or even in this particular read, don't take it personal. This is important because if you allow your emotions to overcome you, then not only did you not really get the lesson, but you're not going to get the lesson. Because the emotions is going to block you from seeing clearly. And that's why we write our words down and repeat them to ourselves, because you got to have something that's clear, okay, that say, this is clear. Well, this is clear. Let's continue. First, don't take it personal. Don't take your learning and your developing personally. Most people become bitter and angry in business because of their own fear of failure. No one wants to lose. They despise their losses and failures because they believe that such disappointments are final. And that's the key. They despise that. Listen here, this is very important. They despise their losses and failures because they believe that such disappointments are final, or those disappointments reflect badly upon their character. This could not be further from the truth. Now, we highlight 24 when we read this some months ago, probably a year ago. This was highlight, so I hope you have this highlight in your Gospel of Hip Hop. Here's 24, paragraph 24. The truth is that everyone fails. Here we go. The truth is that everyone fails. Failure is a part of life. It is a part of growing up. In fact, failure is the great teacher of the wise and the most important tool of the inventor. The quicker you learn that, the quicker you shall take advantage of your failures and cease to allow your failures to take advantage of you. That was highlight. It's time to start living it. Going through failure and being a failure are two entirely different things. No one can be called a failure if they continue to try. It is only when you give up and cease to grow that you have truly failed. Imagine the amount of failure we had to endure just to write this gospel and establish our temple. No, it was not easy, but had we given up, you would not be reading such a gospel today, nor would the Temple of Hip Hop be standing as a beacon of light for all true hip hoppers. Know this, the road to riches is paved with one failure after another, one disappointment after another, one ripoff after another. Do not be discouraged. The key to wealth is found in one's ability to manage failure and see the opportunity in disaster. This too was underlined. This one line was underlined because this is the secret. And see, it's time to start living it. Not just words in a book, but now apply this to your character. Apply this to your being. All of us who are reading with us might be going through something in your own personal situation. Those of us who went on the tour and felt that they didn't come up to the mark that they were supposed to come up to, this is for you. This is for you. The key to wealth is found in one's ability to manage failure and see the opportunity in disaster. Read this paragraph again and again until you finally comprehend its meaning. This is so important. Even in the midst of non-supportive people, mistrust, criticism, envy, greed, and even your own personal failures, you must press on. Never give in to the immaturity that surrounds you. Simply plan around it. And remember, don't take it personal. Always take the high road, such as the essence of business success, and in this case, spiritual success. Take the high road. Don't take it so personal. You cannot give disorganization and expect to be organized. You cannot give a nasty attitude and expect to attract pleasant customers, consumers, business partners, or investors, etc. You cannot have a poverty consciousness and expect to attract wealth. These are called the laws of attraction. You attract to yourself exactly who you are inside. Although hip-hoppers are advised to save their money, you cannot hoard money and resources and expect to attract more money and resources. You cannot cheat people and expect not to be cheated. The Temple of Hip Hop encourages its members to always remain fair in all business transactions and competitions. Here's the last part. Likewise, if you are cheated, resort to the principles of charity instead of revenge, resort to the principles of charity instead of revenge, so that you do not harm yourself or pass on such actions to others. Revenge, deceit, and hostility in the long run only destroys and or hinder your ability to succeed. If you wish to be successful, help someone else become successful, even your competitors. This is a divine performance. The best way to attract opportunity is through charity. Everyone needs help, even your competitors. Therefore, give of yourself, advertise your superior skill openly and freely. By empowering others, you empower yourself. Now, this is just that little piece I wanted to read real quick at the end here as well. And that goes for all of us on the tour that were thinking what I think of all of you that were on the tour. Some of you have expressed your own disappointment in your own abilities and in your own conduct. And I appreciate that and I respect that. Remember, each one of you that have expressed this, you're not the only one. At least 5 of us on the tour expressed to me at some point on the tour how they felt as though they could do better. And I respect that. The idea that you could see where you may have come up short and you want to do better. The want to do better means you're already there. It means you're already there. To become a pro basketball player, you got to miss a whole lot of shots until you finally get that touch to get it in. And that's what the teacher is here for as well, and to be patient with students and apprentices while you screw up, mess up, fall short, so on. This is why the teacher is here, to guide you through your own development so you don't have to be so harmed or so hurt by your own immaturity, by your own failures, by your own doubts, by your own fears. And so those that were on the tour with us, just know from me to you that whatever went on the tour and whatever you feel about your own conduct, I appreciate you totally. I have moved on already. I have said my piece on the tour while situations were going down. I said my piece. We dealt with each other, all of us right then and there, and now it's time to move on. We've learned those lessons. We've seen what that is. And the next time we'll have a chance to be in that situation, we won't do those same things. In fact, now we know it, we're going to now move forward. We now go to another level now. We now snap into place, and we don't have to be told certain things anymore. We now can move to another level. Our next tour is California. We're coming to you, Cali. We're coming for you. And we're going to bring real hip-hop right there. And the Temple of Hip-Hop is coming there as well. We want to bring a more expansive temple now out to the situation. And it's clear to us as well that we're going to have to control the whole night. We saw that in Europe. I think the same is going to be in California as well. We're going to have to control the whole night. So we're going to need some help. We're definitely going to need, bodies and skills. Not only the elements itself, all 9 elements, but also what I just said, skills, personal skills, maturity skills, emotional skills, intellectual and planning skills. Shout out to Whale again. Big up to Whale again for helping GSIMONE with the logistics of the tour. Just for a brief second, Whale got right in on that with the hotels. We stayed at some really cool places with Whale and GSIMONE working the hotels, getting us in places that weren't too expensive, but were actually some really great hotels with amenities and restaurants and all the kind of things we actually needed. But I just mentioned, it just came to my mind because that had nothing to do with Whale's rhyming ability and singing ability and what she did. That was the other side to it. You can't get on the stage unless you got logistics skills to get a hotel when you get in the city. So as you can see, it's a whole lifestyle. And like I said before, I appreciate everyone that showed up, everyone who came forward. I know you spent your money. You spent your money straight up. I saw you spending it. You spent your money. You came and you supported the teacher, you supported the temple, you supported yourself. You supported hip-hop. Many of you were out there teaching, making friends, talking to people, lifting people up. You had your Bible, your Bible. You had your gospel open. Your Bible was open on these dudes out there, and they wanted it. Shout out to Alex, the driver. I didn't shout Alex. Alex White, the driver, English driver, who started out as just a driver and wound up wanting to join the temple by the time the end of the show, by the end of the tour. He was like, I'm in. Somebody gave him a gospel, I think, and he started reading his gospel, and he came to me a few times like, yo, how can I get more serious? He was ready to actually quit the whole gig and come to America and work for free, he said. I just want to be part of what's going on here, because he saw how we were moving. It wasn't just a regular rap tour. We were bringing hip-hop to these people on stage and off stage, and he wanted a part of it. I found that to be very impressive. And keep in mind, he was aggravating to me in terms of driving. I'll say that because I've already said it to him. But no, it wasn't aggravation like anger. It was that, he's driving. By the way, we drove ourselves. Big up the SUN-ONE, Pascal. They had a car, they drove themselves. I had a car with GSIMONE, we was driving ourselves. And then Alex had the big van. Time had hired him with the temple. And shout out to Time for her leadership with the Temple of Hip Hop, having the van together, getting us where we had to go. This is what it was about. This is what it was about. But Alex saw all of that. And his spirit got changed and was like, yo, I see what hip-hop is. I need to be part of this, how y'all doing it. And so for me, and I use him as an example, saying that everything about Alex wasn't 100%. No, it wasn't. And some of you saw that. You saw that first guy I had, Muhammad, the cab driver dude we had taking us from here to there. You saw what that was about. But I still appreciate what was done. What was done. We got through the shows. We did our thing. I've been on enough tours, so I don't take it personal. I don't take the failures personally. I see them. They're aggravating. Yes, they are. But you don't take it personally. We're here to lift each other up. So try to remember that as we move forward. This is the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-ONE. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. And underline that part, ministry. Archive, school, and society. We believe that to preserve hip hop, you got to preserve hip hoppers. And that's the point two to this lesson. To preserve hip hop, you got to preserve hip hoppers. To grow hip hop, you got to grow hip hoppers. We got to make mistakes, and we got to learn from that and become better based on that. We got another shot coming up in March. You need to save your money, get your time together, try to organize your schedule. As the tour flourishes and starts to come in more solid, I'll be talking more intent actually about that. Got a few people I need to meet out there too, like the African American Museum in California. Need to go check them out. Few other places we need to go see in Cali as well, so on. So that's going to be it for me. This is KRS-ONE. Of course, you know the lesson is short today. Yes, indeed. It is Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. May the Christ be born in you as it is now born in me. Peace, y'all.
Make a wish, say it twice. Who's been naughty? Who's been nice? We wish you love, continued cheer. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All I want is Christmas Day. Is love to start and love to stay. All I want is Christmas Day. Is love to start